Hi.
Good evening. Welcome to the Film Forum, Atlanta's best movie talk show. Maybe they might get the right camera on here so we can get this thing going.
Welcome to Film Forum.
Atlanta's best movie talk show. I'm Steve Markos. This here's Aron Siegel. How you doing tonight, Aron?
Hi there, Steve.
Well, we're getting off to a bad start here down at People TV tonight, looks like. Well, we got a great show for you as usual tonight. We're going to be doing a couple films.
We really do have a great show. I swear we do.
Yeah, it's going to get better. All right. Got a couple films. What are we going to do tonight, Aron?
Tonight we're going to do Malice, and we're also going to do the program.
All right, sounds like two winners. And then we'll have Critics' Choice this week. We'll be doing our favorite football movies since the program is a football film, and I guess football season's kind of getting underway. And then we have a very special guest. Aron, who's coming on tonight?
Well, tonight, Steve, we have a food stylist. His name is Mike Bankston, and he's from the Atlanta Catering Company.
All right. Later. So you need to stick around and watch that. And
absolutely.
We got a lot to do, so we might as well get started, and let's start off with Malice.
That's a good idea, Steve.
All right.
Okay, Malice stars Alec Baldwin as a hotshot surgeon who moves to a small town because of a serial rapist serial rapist murderer that is killing a lot of college students in this town. And he ends up moving in with Bill Pullman and Nicole Kidman, who are a couple redoing their house. And what happens is that Alec Baldwin operates on Nicole Kidman, does some emergency surgery while he's intoxicated. And we have a scene from Malice where Nicole Kidman and Alec Baldwin are getting depositions for the court case.
I have an MD from Harvard. I am board certified in cardiothoracic medicine and trauma surgery. I have been awarded citations from 7 different medical boards in New England, and I am never, ever sick at sea. So I ask you, when someone goes into that chapel and they fall on their knees and they pray to God that their wife doesn't miscarry, or that their daughter doesn't bleed to death, or that their mother doesn't suffer acute neural trauma from post-operative shock, who do you think they're praying to? Now, you go ahead and read your Bible, Dennis, and you go to your church, and with any luck you might win the annual raffle, but if you're looking for God, he was in operating room number 2 on November 17th, and he doesn't like to be second-guessed. You ask me if I have a God complex? Let me tell you something. I am God.
Okay, that's the scene from Malice, which opens this Friday. It stars Alec Baldwin, Nicole Kidman, and Bill Pullman, with cameos by George C. Scott and Anne Bancroft.
I thought the script was a fantastic script, and I couldn't find a flaw in this entire movie until the very end of the film, but at that time, I was so much in love with the movie, I was willing to overlook it. A lot of times you'll see a great ending of a movie where the rest of the movie was horrible, and the ending is kind of all for nothing. But in this case, I thought the movie was a great movie.
I love this film. This film took you, led you in one direction, and had a lot of MacGuffins. That's a term Alfred Hitchcock used. People say, "What's a MacGuffin?" You say that's a device for keeping the mountain lions out of the city of Los Angeles.
Well, I thought it was very similar to 2 films. One I can't say because it'll give the plot away, but it was very similar to The Crying Game in the fact that it just misleads you. I mean, I'm sitting here watching, you got a serial killer film, you got this medical malpractice suit, you don't know who's the killer, you don't know if it matters, the movie's going in 2 different directions, and then all of a sudden, when you find out what the thing's about, my mouth just kind of
just surprises you.
Yeah, my mouth just drops open. I said, man, that's one hell of a script.
No,
that's for sure.
We've got to say that probably the technical advisors on this film did a great job because of all the different things that they had to take into consideration.
Yeah. Like I said, the only flaws I found was at the very end. I think once you find out what it was about, I thought it became a little predictable. And though it doesn't resort to the slasher thriller type ending such as Fatal Attraction, it kind of halfway does that. I'd love to see a film that's a psychological movie where the guy gets back at the bad guys by ruining their life instead of killing them off for once. And this way it goes kind of halfway. Don't you like that? Instead of killing them, don't you like to see people suffer? I wish somebody'd make a movie like that once where you just kind of like...
No, I don't like to see people suffer. I like the way this film ended, actually.
I halfway liked the way it ended.
Yeah.
Because in a way they did ruin some of the people's lives. some of the bad guys. So I'm going to go with 4 stars. Like I said, I love the film.
I'm going to give this film 4 stars as well.
And you need to check it out, and that opens this Friday.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll get on with our second film. Our second film came out last Friday. It's called The Program. Stars James Caan, Craig Sheffer, Christy Swanson, Hal Berry, and Omar Epps. Now, James Caan plays a college football coach who's up against the gun to produce a college team that's going to get into a bowl game. He's failed for the last 2 years, and if he fails this time, his job may be over with, to put it bluntly. Anyway, the program focuses on the college football program, and in particular follows 2 players, Joe Kane, who's a Heisman Trophy candidate. He's the quarterback of Eastern State University's team, and Darnell Jefferson. He's a city youth who comes to find out that his street habits don't fit in the college environment. Let's take a look at some of the fantastic football action that takes place in the film.
Check! Insert! Go 13! Coming up, team! Go 13! Head!
Kane fades back. Can't find anybody. Forced out of the pocket. Mahone misses him. Jones has a hold of it. Kane gets away. Scrambles right. Looks downfield for Jefferson. He's covered. Kane fumbles the ball. Scrambling after it. Picks it up.
See ya! Closing time, baby!
Looking into the end zone for Jefferson. Fires on the run.
Jefferson's got it! Touchdown! ESU wins it! ESU wins!
All right, that's some of the football action from the program which came out last Friday. What do you think of this one, Aaron?
I thought it was a good football film. I enjoyed it. I wasn't bored. There were a lot of interesting things that they discussed about the athletic programs at universities that go on. I thought at first this was going to be a negative film about football athletic programs, and it kind of combines both the negative and positive aspects of the football.
I didn't think it got as much into the behind the scenes of the college, like recruiting and stuff like that. I would have loved to have seen that more. I did particularly like the action in this film. I thought it was some very realistic action. It kind of looks like some of the stuff you see down at the Dome on Monday night, except these actors played a little bit better than the Falcons. But
and they actually ended up playing Georgia Tech.
The Georgia Tech's in this film. I don't know if it was really some of the players, but if you tune in at 9 o'clock on the press box and we have Donnie Davis come on, we'll ask him if this movie has a little bit of some of the Tech players. I've seen some criticism about this film being predictable. I didn't really think it was predictable.
No, I didn't know exactly what the outcome was going to be of this film at all.
I knew, and I knew some of the things that would happen to particular characters, like you were sure there's going to be injuries and et cetera, but nothing ever happened to the people I thought it would happen to. In the ending football game, even though you kind of knew who was going to win, it didn't end on a last-second Hail Mary bomb or someone running the ball back to the end zone, on a kickoff. It ended in a way that a lot of football films would end. I thought, like a real football game. If anything, in this film on the downside, I thought it was a little bit too macho for me.
One thing that kept bothering me was that James Caan kept changing his dialect, his accent. A couple of scenes he was a Yankee, and a couple other scenes he sounded more like a Southerner. And I really didn't understand where they were coming from with this.
I didn't notice that one at all. I did, like I said, I get back to this macho thing. Some of the dialogue and stuff I thought was very corny, and I didn't know. I've played a lot of baseball and hockey, never football. But I asked a friend who has played football, and he said that he thought it was very realistic from beginning to end.
And this also has a bunch of different aspects, like dealing with steroids and things.
Yeah. One of the problems, it tries to develop too many characters, I thought. It tried to get like an entire football team and develop everyone.
Right.
Instead of doing like 3 or 4 really well, what it does, it kind of does everyone halfway. It's more of a jack of all trades and a master of none. And some of the characters come and go, like the girlfriends, for instance. They're in it, and then you don't see them again for a half hour later. You wonder, like, what in the world happened to them?
So what do you give this film, Steve?
I'm just going to go with 2 stars.
Me too.
An average film.
An average football
Definitely
film.
for guys more than girls. What
Right.
you do if you have a date, you send your girlfriend over to Age of Innocence, and you go see the program, and you both come out happy.
Okay. Now we're going to take a phone call here. We are a call-in show. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you really think it is worth 2 stars.
The program.
Yeah.
From a guy's point of view, yeah, I think if you're into football, it's definitely a movie that you got to like football. If
Okay, thanks.
If you're not into football or something, is that what you feel?
Like I said before, you figure a star is worth $1.50. Okay. So if you get 2 stars, it's about a $3 movie.
Yeah, so if you
Okay.
catch it at the matinee, you wouldn't want to pay $6 and drag a date and buy popcorn and all that kind of stuff.
The one thing that I didn't like about it was it just kind of left you hanging in certain places. It's like things got resolved, but not to your satisfaction.
I didn't notice any on that.
Okay.
Let's get on with the top 10. Let's see what's
Okay.
hot in Atlanta this week.
Let's take a look at what you went to see this past weekend. And number 10 is Jurassic Park. It drops from number 9. At number 9 this week is Sleepless in Seattle. It's still in the top 10 after 3 weeks. 3 weeks? It's more than 3 weeks.
No.
It's 13 weeks?
13 weeks.
13 weeks. Okay. Number 8 is Man Without a Face. It falls from number 4. Dropping out of the top 5 after 2 weeks is Undercover Blues. This has Dennis Quaid and Kathleen Turner in it.
Horrible movie. Worst I've seen this year.
I liked it. At number 6 is Warlock 2, The Armageddon. It debuts at number 6. It has Julian Sands recreating his original role from Warlock. Number 5 is Martin Scorsese's adaptation of the Wharton book, Age of Innocence. It breaks into the top 10 after its second week
Yeah, it was
in release.
actually out last week, but did not do well. But
And this has the best screen average.
yeah, per screen, it was taken in like 9 times more than the number 1 movie. Like
Yeah,
almost 30,000.
It's got like 12 screens. So, and number 4 this week is Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive. Still in the top 5 after 7 weeks. And number 3 this week is the Bruce Willis, Sarah Jessica Parker film Striking Distance. It falls from number 1. And debuting at number 2 is a film we just reviewed, The Program, and a film that we reviewed last week, the new number 1 film, the Macaulay Culkin Bad Seed film, Good Son.
Yeah, and a movie last week we said was coming out this Friday. We received wrong information was
Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings, which actually
Yeah.
comes out this Friday. Now also, which fell out of the top 10 for the first time, Rising Sun. It lasted 7 weeks, got as high as number 2. True Romance only lasted 2 weeks. This surprises me. It got up to number 3. Real McCoy only lasted 2 weeks. It got as high as number 5. That doesn't surprise me that it's gone. And Hard Target was in for 4 weeks. It got as high as number 3, and it
And
finally
it's
drops
practically
out.
dropped out.
All righty then. So let's get on. We're going to do our Critics' Choice, keeping with football as the program, and the football season starting up here. We're going to tell you what our 3 favorite football films are. Aron will tell you first.
Okay. Just like the game of football, there's a time limit here, so I'm going to keep this short, quick, and sweet. My number 3 film is North Dallas 40. It came out in 1979. It deals with labor abuse in the NFL. It stars Mac Davis and Nick Nolte. My number 2 film is Brian's Song. Came out in 1970. It was a made-for-TV movie. It stars James Caan, who is in the program, as well as Billy D. Williams. James Caan plays Brian Piccolo, and Billy D. Williams plays Gale Sayers. It's the true-to-life story of Brian Piccolo as he develops cancer, and he's on the Chicago Bears football team. My number 1 film is the Burt Reynolds film, came out in 1974, The Longest Yard. Burt Reynolds plays a football pro quarterback who is imprisoned, and the warden of the prison, who's played by Eddie Albert, challenges him to get a football team of prisoners together against a football team of guards. And a lot of excitement in that film. Those are my top 3.
All righty. Before I get on with my top 3 real quick, let's take this phone call. Go ahead, caller.
Yes.
Go ahead. You're on there.
Yeah, I was sorry to get off the football topic,
Yeah.
but I was wondering if you guys had heard anything about the movie Dazed and Confused and when it's coming to Atlanta.
Dazed and Confused is, I believe, opening next Friday. We have not screened it yet, but we will be screening it within the next couple of days.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
All right. That's about a bunch of high school kids on the last day of high school.
Correct.
Done by the guy who did Slacker.
Right.
All right. Thanks for the call. Let's get on with my favorite 3. Number 3, Brian's Song with Billy D. Williams and James Caan, came out in 1970. As Aron said before, a made-for-TV movie. It's really the story of the friendship between Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo, two rookies on the 1965 Chicago Bears teams. Brian Piccolo develops cancer, and it shows how their relationship is affected, as well as the people on the team, how they're affected by Piccolo's illness. It's really not as much a football movie as it is a story of people. These two guys could have been plumbers, architects. It really didn't matter. They just happened to play football. And it may be, I consider maybe the football version of Pride of the Yankees, so to speak. This was a milestone in made-for-television films and considered one of the best made-for-television movies ever, and kind of gave credibility to films on television. I believe it earned 4 Emmy Awards, I believe. All right, my second favorite is The Longest Yard, 1974 Burt Reynolds film. As Aaron said, ex-NFL quarterback goes to prison, puts together a team to play the prison guards, who actually have a semi-pro team. The beginning of this film starts off as a replica of Cool Hand Luke. It's kind of more of a hard-nosed prison film. Burt Reynolds refuses to cooperate in coaching the semi-pro team to begin with, so they put the squeeze on him and try to break him. He eventually gives in and agrees to coach a film. And after that, it kind of turns into a adult version of the Bad News Bears. A lot of cussing, a lot of football hijinks. The last half hour of the film is nothing but the football game, and this is where most of the comedy comes, as the prisoners and the prison guards are out to kill each other. Some great roles, some very colorful characters. My favorite might be Richard Kiel, who plays Samson. If you remember Richard Kiel from, he played Jaws and Moonraker and some of the James Bond films. My favorite football movie of all time, Heaven Can Wait, 1978. It's a story of the Los Angeles Rams quarterback who's taken to heaven before his time. The angel pulls him out of a car wreck just so he won't have to suffer. Turns out he wouldn't have died, and now they have to find a body for him to go back in because the body was cremated. Now, everyone considers this a romantic comedy or a reincarnation film, but football plays a very important role in this film. Warren Beatty, who plays the football player, is very concerned about getting to the Super Bowl and finding a body to get into shape. He's more concerned with football than he is in falling in love with Julie Christie. This movie is nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Warren Beatty, Best Supporting Actor, Jack Warden, Best Supporting Actress, Diane Cannon, and Screenplay, Original Music, and Cinematography. Ironically, it was a remake of a film in 1941 which won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. Here Comes Mr. Jordan. Warren Beatty became the first person since Orson Welles in 1941 to be nominated as director, actor, screenwriter, and producer for a Best Picture. Orson Welles did that in 1941 for Citizen Kane, and Warren Beatty did it again in 1981 for Red. So a little Oscar trivia there. Now, those are my favorite football films, and now we're going to take you on to what's coming out in video this week. All right, this is what you should be able to find in the video store by this weekend. When you've seen everything you thought you could see, well, now you can catch The Dark Wind, which will be coming out. Sidekicks, which was Chuck Norris's effort into making a kids film, a movie, more of a family-type movie, getting away from his violent films as normal. And Aladdin, one of the biggest hits of last year.
Aladdin's coming out on video, huh?
That's what our producer Randy says back there.
Great.
And we gave that 4 stars. And on pay-per-view, Aaron, what do we have on pay-per-view this week?
Well, we've got Malcolm X. We've got Groundhog Day. Did I say that 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, just repeats, doesn't it?
Yeah. We've got Untamed Heart, and we've also got The Vanishing. Now, this is The Vanishing that was
the remake.
The remake.
And those are all 4 fantastic films. I really liked them all. And I believe
So did I.
I liked Groundhog Day less than you. You loved it. I loved The Vanishing,
loved
Malcolm
Groundhog
X, and whatever the other one was. All righty.
Okay. Each week on Film Forum, we have a special guest. This week is no different. We have Mike Bankston with the Atlanta Catering Company, and Mike is a food stylist. We'd like to welcome Mike to the show. Mike?
Thank you.
Great.
How you doing today, Mike?
Pleasure for you to be here.
What exactly is a food stylist, and what's this got to do with the movie industry?
Well, there are different types of food stylists in the summer in print, which goes into the magazines, the books, that type of thing. Everyone's seen the Southern Living and those type
Cereal
of
box
magazines.
covers.
Sure, all that stuff. And then there's also the film food stylist. And there's 2 very different thrusts these different types of people do. In print industry, what the stylist tries to do is he's dealing with a focused, set subject, and everyone's in total control. In the film industry, of course, the food is always in the background. The focus is always on the characters. So there's no, you have to be the continuity is very, very much an issue in film food styling.
And which
as
one do you
opposed to
do the most of?
we do the film,
You do
film, video, and commercials and that kind of thing.
So what the world? How does continuity figure
Well-
in the film?
well-
if somebody eats something, you got to make sure that there's
Yeah.
a bite out of it
Let
for
me,
the
let me
rest
give
of
you
the
an
film?
example. We did a film here in Atlanta, Living Large, and there was a scene that was done in a mansion over in West Paces Ferry area, and as the characters are standing around this gorgeous buffet that we had done, set up for them, they're taking fruit, they're taking a little cold hors d'oeuvre and that kind of thing, and this is in a situation where they're actually eating and consuming the food.
This has to be repeated over and over again, correct?
Certainly does. And
Just
when
to
you're
make
setting
sure to
up,
match up the scenes.
yeah, when you're setting up for a film and you're doing this type of interior shot, they may do 8 hours of shots with this one scene, okay? Possibly. And over that period of time, we have to keep replenishing the fruit, make it look fresh throughout. You know, and as I said, this is a consumption scene, not just something that's in a background. So one of the important things is they'll have a continuity individual who'll take a Polaroid every time they stop the action, okay? And we will go in and replenish that tray, make it look refreshing as if it had just been set up again. And then we have to go in and actually pick out the pieces of fruit and that type of thing that they've eaten up to that point. So the continuity looks exactly as it should be, even though it's 8 hours later and we're all a little bit more tired than we were when we started.
And I guess everybody's a little bit more full if they've had to do that.
Yeah, sometimes it gets to be
60
tough.
times.
Now this is food that's being eaten, correct?
That's correct.
Now, don't you have to make certain foods that just look good and that they're going to stay fresh? Like, I'm sure whipped cream won't stay fresh for very long.
And that's a good example, very
Okay.
good example. But there are many times when we'll get miscommunication for some reason. One of the keys in our business is to be flexible and receptive and responsive to the directors. And in the same film, for example, we did an outdoor scene at Coca-Cola where we set up a restaurant. It had some outdoor tables with umbrellas and that kind of thing. Of course, it's in February. It's supposed to be in April. Everybody's in just regular coats and shirts, and we're all freezing. But the actors are sitting at a table, and they're eating escargot. And my instruction was that it's supposed to look like escargot. And when you do vegetables, if you'll do real vegetables that are not cooked, they'll hold much better over a period of time than a cooked vegetable will. So here we are with these inedible foods.
Right.
And 30 minutes before we shoot, the guy comes up and says, "Do you have extra in case they consume it all?" And I said, "Wait a minute, I didn't understand it was a consumption, you know?" So here we go. We had to actually cook the escargot. It was really difficult. We had to find something, and we had 30 minutes window to work with. But we got it done. And
So you were cooking the escargot on the set?
outdoors, next to the Coca-Cola pavilion in freezing weather.
What about fake foods? Like I always hear on cereal boxes, they use like glue for milk. I mean, do you get any of that stuff? And if
Not
so,
very much. Not very much. Because you have to remember, in film, you're not focused on food. And you don't, there are many times when you see a picture in a magazine, that's not a real steak, okay? Or it may be a steak that's aged in inedible that they've actually varnished, okay? And they may score it on the outside, for example, but you couldn't possibly eat something like that. It's not very often. Now, we may do the escargot shells and not do an actual snail inside, okay, because it's not necessary. But it's not very often that we'll actually take plastic food because that looks
one's gonna
very
see it
plastic
anyway.
in a background shot, you know, if they actually focus on it for any reason.
Okay, now you also did Free Jack, didn't you?
We did quite a bit of work with Free Jack, and that was a very interesting experience. They gave us a call on a Tuesday night, asked me to come in the next morning to preview what we could do for them on this scene that they were setting up. What they wanted to do was set up an outdoor scene in a warehouse. Okay. And it had to look like it was outdoors, but they wanted the controlled environment. They came to me and they asked me if we could do the food for it, and they asked us, by the way, do you know anybody that can do plants? I said, yeah, we can get the plants for you. And before you know it, here we are. We're calling people, and we've got less than 24 hours to turn this around. We're on the phone calling people to get this thing set up with the greenery and the food tables and the buffets and the ice carvings and all this stuff.
I understand you've got some pictures of something, the kind of work that you do is.
Well, I've
as far
got
as like for-
just a few small shots of Free Jack, some
Okay,
things
if you
that
can move things around here.
Also, when
Okay, if you can show them this
focus
way.
a little bit on this. This was an outdoor scene that we tried to set up
Okay,
inside the warehouse.
okay,
We shot the scene.
Okay.
Took all day.
All right.
Came, picked up our equipment, charged them a fortune because we had to do it last minute. It was quite a bit of work involved. And before you know it, I get a call 2 weeks later. The guy says, Mike, are you available to shoot the outdoor scene in the warehouse again? And I said, you mean the whole scene? And he says, yeah. And I said, well, yeah, I can do it for you if you really want me to. So I said, what's the problem? And apparently the female lead and Emilio Estevez didn't click.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
they had recast Free Jack with a new female lead. It wasn't Rene Russo to begin with?
Not originally. It was not Rene Russo. And, of course, they brought Rene in, and she and Emilio had the chemistry they were looking for. We reshot the scene, charged them quite a bit of money.
And where's the scene in the film?
Unfortunately, it's still on the floor.
It's still on the cutting room floor.
Now, you say that you work with a catering company, so do you get to cater as well the real food for the people?
No,
or
we
y'all
didn't.
Stay away
We
with
didn't
food?
have anything. They had contracted a company out of California, and they actually came from
those
California.
are the ones to feed the actors, correct?
Yes.
Off camera. I wanted to make sure and mention that the scene ended up on the cutting room floor because so many times you go out of your way to do something and do it really, really well, and it ends up, Kevin Costner in The Big Chill. It's a classic example.
Absolutely.
So
as far as your company, do you ever do any of the catering for films, or you pretty much
We
stay
will.
away?
We've done some of that, mostly with the commercials and that type of thing. We haven't done as much. We've only done a little bit in the film industry backstage. Most of our work has always been done the set work. But we like to let folks know that we can not only do the food, but we can do a lot of the proppage too, particularly if it pertains to what's done in the food industry.
And if you see Age of Innocence, food does play an important part. They show some
absolutely.
beautiful dishes there. All
okay,
right.
our guest has been Mike Bankston of the Atlanta Catering Company. We'd like to thank you for coming on to the show, Mike.
Appreciate the
Learning
opportunity.
a little bit, some of the things we don't know about.
That's all the time that we've got for this installment of Film Forum. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday night at 7:30 on Channel 12 for Film Forum, and we'll have 2 feature releases. Our Critics' Choice will be Best Actresses and Best Performances by an Actress, and our special guest will be an Assistant Director. That's next week on Film Forum. We also want to remind you, our phone-in number for feedback, our Film Forum feedback number is 798-6981. If you want to call that number with your suggestions, come on. See you next Tuesday.
Hey, give us some suggestions or comments, whatever.
Okay.
Well, guys, thanks. That was interesting.